In the mid-2000s, it started as a faint clicking under the table at dinner. Then it became an addictive obsession. Everyone from Wall Street traders to celebrities like Paris Hilton and Barack Obama seemed tethered to these tiny plastic keys, unable to look away for more than a few seconds. The statistics were even more staggering. They didn't just sell phones. They managed the nervous system of global corporate communication. At its peak, BlackBerry controlled 50. It's the story of how dominating one technological era can create the very blind spots that ensure you won't survive the next one. BlackBerry's initial success was built on three specific pillars. In 1999, Research in Motion introduced a device that was always on, used tiny amounts of compressed data, and featured a physical keyboard that turned anyone into a high-speed typist. This was driven by a unique co-CEO structure. While Mike Lizarides focused on the engineering architecture, his partner Jim Balsillie, seen here, managed the business operations and cultivated relationships with the world's biggest cellular carriers. The real power lay in the back end, the BlackBerry Enterprise Server. This infrastructure allowed IT departments to manage their own fleet of devices with encryption that met the highest military standards. This created a formidable switching cost for the corporations. Because the security was so deeply integrated into their own servers, replacing the phones meant dismantling the company's entire security protocol. BlackBerry had effectively locked down the corporate IT department. But in the process of securing the office, they had almost entirely ignored the individual consumer. In 2007, the launch of the iPhone changed the mobile environment overnight. Apple, and soon Google's Android, shifted the smartphone's purpose from a corporate utility to a portal for personal entertainment. BlackBerry's leadership dismissed these new touchscreens as toys. They were convinced that professional users would never trade their tactile keyboards for a piece of glass, and they assumed that regular consumers had no interest in constant connectivity. When the market proved them wrong, they rushed to catch up. They released the BlackBerry Storm, which used a screen mounted on a mechanical switch that actually clicked down when pressed. It was slow, buggy, and damaged the brand's reputation for reliability. They doubled down on this reactive strategy with the new Playbook tablet, another rushed product that initially shipped without native email or contacts, the very things that had made BlackBerry famous. This hardware panic distracted them from a much larger problem, the app gap. BlackBerry maintained a closed proprietary system, while Apple and Google built thriving ecosystems where millions of independent developers created new value every day. Their enterprise fortress finally crumbled during the bring-your-own-device trend. Employees started bringing their personal iPhones into the office, and eventually they forced IT departments to support the devices they actually enjoyed using. The very things that had made BlackBerry untouchable, their closed network and their focus on hardware, became the anchors that dragged them down in an era defined by software and open platforms. By 2013, the company was in a freefall. As this graph shows, Bay's share price had collapsed from its triple-digit peak to near worthless levels as their hardware revenue evaporated. To save the company, CEO John Chen made the difficult call to kill the hardware business entirely. BlackBerry would stop designing and manufacturing its own phones to focus exclusively on software. Chen orchestrated a profound pivot around the company's remaining strengths, high-security communication, and a high-performance operating system called QNX. QNX had been a failure in tablets and phones, but it was incredibly stable and safe. Chen repurposed it as the foundational software for the software-defined vehicle revolution, where reliability isn't just a feature, it's a life-saving requirement. Today, BlackBerry secures the communications of G7 governments and works with AWS to process data in millions of modern cars. They've moved from our pockets to the dashboards and digital brains of the global infrastructure. The loss of the smartphone market appears like a total failure, but it hides a masterclass in corporate survival. It shows that long-term relevance often requires the willingness to cannibalize the very products that made you a legend.